Hello, William Ragg. That name surely is a name that could have been conjured up by Charles Dickens or Roald Dahl. He's planning to go to the police on Monday about bullying by the whips in the House of Commons. I don't know whether this is going to be a formal witness statement or whether he's going to discuss allegations or something. I mean, whatever it is, it just seems extraordinary that it's got to this stage. And we know that there's been a group of MPs who've been plotting about this for some time. And actually one of the main stories I'll get to in the end, which has actually just come out today, which in fact has just come out within the last few minutes, which in fact I slightly anticipated. But I will get to it. The whips have always intimidated MPs. That's part of their job, or at least that was assumed to be part of their job. Part of the traditions of Westminster and Whitehall. It wasn't likely to change in any way at all, except the extraordinary alleged bullying. Actually, I don't think I even need to use the word alleged because it was proven. It was agreed that she had bullied. The bullying by Priti Patel in her department, in one department after another. The difference is that Boris accepted that bullying. Why? Well, because that's how Priti Patel markets herself. You're not going to get anything else from somebody who sees herself classically as a piranha. Her husband calls her piranha. It's extraordinary. It is as bad as Gavin Williamson with a tarantula on his desk called Kronos. Kronos, of course, was the god of time. Time, gentlemen, time. Look at my tarantula. I cannot believe that before Gavin Williamson became a whip, he actually had a pet tarantula. He had a pet tarantula. I can't believe it. I can only assume that Gavin Williamson acquired the tarantula as a prop to make himself look more fearsome. Because he's not really a fearsome looking person, is he? I mean, he's a bit of a weed. He looks like somebody who should be plucked. I'm sure there are other interpretations of that word, but we're not in the realms here of Jeremy Hunt. Spoonerism for another day. But Gavin Williamson, I mean, he looks as if you put weed killer on him, he would shrivel up and die. Go, Gavin, go, go. He is the Forrest Gump of Parliament. And now, we rub our hands with delight that he has finally gone, but the shadow of Williamson remains because we now learn from Christian Wakeford, that fellow who crossed the House and went over to the Labour Party, we learn that it was Gavin Williamson who was making threats about what he would lose from his constituency if he didn't vote with the government. Gavin Williamson. Because Gavin Williamson, at heart, his threats are a little bit sort of ham-fisted. That is the problem. In the old days of Parliament, you read about the way the whips behave. You read about the way the whips behaved in I can't see it now. I've got my copies of Dobbs's book with Franz Urquhart and all that stuff which then got sort of smeared with Kevin Spacey. But we read about these. He wasn't the first person to talk about the cunning arts of the whip's office, but these were threats that were implicit rather than explicit. I'm sure that Gavin Williamson was not capable of an implicit threat, and that's the problem. It all became a little bit bold. It all became a little bit ham-fisted, and that's the same issue with Priti Patel. She's a thug, really, and so is Williamson. These people do not belong in office, and thankfully Williamson has gone. But his spirit, like an invading tarantula, continues. So now we understand that the threats to the MPs are about encouraging embarrassing stories. Well, those embarrassing stories only work if they're true. There was one that came out at the beginning of the week that apparently wasn't true. And it came out about somebody who had said negative things about Boris. Some MPs are told that they will find that their funding for is withdrawn for important constituency projects that had previously been agreed. And Rag mentioned this in a committee a few days ago that he chairs in Parliament. So as I say, I think part of the problem is Gavin Williamson, and he is the person who has been fingered by Christian Wakeford. I'm so entertained that this is the case, because he would have been the first person I would have identified as a problem. And Williamson has been throwing his weight around for years. That's why he's got the pet tarantula. Priti Patel is following in the same traditions. She looks round and she sees Williamson doing it. She thinks it is okay. It's not okay. Put bluntly, the traditions that have been going on for years and years and years in the House of Parliament and have been accepted as part of the code would never be accepted in a modern office today, would never be accepted in a school today, and certainly would not be accepted with the ham-fisted, clunky nonsense peddled by a Gavin Williamson or a Priti Patel. These people, their days are numbered. They don't only need to have left cabinet, they need to leave Parliament. We need a clean out of this rubbish which has gathered around, it's gathered around the last three prime ministers, Boris, Theresa May, and actually Cameron. This rubbish of threat people, of people who are career politicians, who actually haven't had a real job in their life and don't know what reality is. They need to wake up, and the only way for them to wake up is to leave that parliamentary, that Westminster bubble, and do it soon, because they are damaging our reputation. There we are. Do follow the channel, and do ring the bell.